Well, welcome to the Awakening Potential Show, where your host, Karen Rudolph, am going to support you today in something a little different, right? So I am pulling up my question and answer. So we have a little different context today. Today is all about unlocking potential, your questions, my insights, right? So, welcome to the Awakening Potential Show, which is your gateway to the extraordinary. I'm Karen Rudolph. I'm a catalyst for change, an empowerment coach, and a guide for those ready to step into their sassy confidence, classy wisdom, and badassy boldness. For years, I've been supporting people in clearing their belief systems, the things that no longer serve them, those old ones, mastering communication, and creating ripples of transformation in the lives of many, personal and business included. And here's what I know for sure. I know the way we think, speak, and show up determine what life will be created for you, the life that will be created for you, for sure. Right? Transformation isn't about waiting for the right moment. It's about taking actions, even when it feels messy. And sometimes the most powerful shifts start with the right questions. Right. So today I'm flipping the script a bit. And instead of featuring a guest, I'm opening the floor to you. This is a special question and answer episode where I answer your biggest questions about personal growth, power, overcoming self-doubt, patterns, communication, showing up authentically, and anything that's going to support awakening your potential. So I have a list of questions here that I've been gathering now for a time that I keep hearing from you and that some have actually asked personally. So if I didn't get to your question right away, don't fret. I will be happy to do it on a social media platform or do this again for you or DM me and I'll answer the question. I'm here for you. I'm here to support and lift you because I believe when we lift each other, we all rise, right? So by all means, so there are some pretty amazing questions here. I can't wait to dive in. So grab a notebook, get comfy, and let's explore these breakthroughs that are waiting for you. Let's do this. So, let me see. One of the first ones, somebody's asked if I personally had a billboard that millions could see, what would I say? Ooh, that's a toughie. Uh, that's really a toughie because there's so many things for sure that I would have something to say. But I'm going to go with messy, scary, uncertain, do it anyway. You don't know what you don't know until you put your toe in and give it a try. Give it your best shot. So life's messy anyway, so you might as well, create that dream that's messy, growth, which is messy, but do it anyway. And that's where the opportunities and the joy comes from. At least in my world, it has. Stop waiting for perfection, right? If it feels messy, just do it anyway. Just do it anyway. So let me see. Question. What was the defining moment in my life that shaped the way I support others? The defining moment in my life. I think the defining moment in my life was when I was going through my divorce and I was scared shitless. I was so fearful of a future that was unknown to me. I don't know why this is going on, so forgive me. Let me get this going. My computer's been acting weird all day, so forgive me if it keeps going in and out. But the defining moment that really shaped me was when I was going through my divorce, as I said, and I was living in fear. The fear of the unknown. I was worried about the money. I was worried about my children. I was worried about where I was going to live, and on and on and on and on. And it was debilitating for me because I was a people pleaser. And it wasn't until I knew I was going to have to go before the judge, and I had no voice. I had no idea what to ask for, how to ask for it. And then I remember looking at my three children, little children, their eyes like saucers. And it, in that moment, it just was like a aha moment where I looked at them and said, I'm their first teacher. I'm their first advocate. Like, what am I doing? And why am I doing this? It's not all about me, it's about all of us. And in that moment, I made a decision. It was just like turning on the switch that I was going to take communication courses and I would never be out of communication again. And I don't know where it came from. I remember looking around going, oh my God, that was my defining moment. Um, I'm in the process of writing a book. Somebody wanted to know what spiraling up was really, what it was, what's it about, and how, where did the concept come from? Again, coming from that defining moment, I started looking at everything as a lesson. Everything I did impacted the next thing, which begat the next thing, which begat the next thing. And before I knew it, I was spiraling up and up. And before I knew it, I was building my confidence. I was building my self-worth. I was believing in me. I was loving me. I never knew what that looked like. So the book is coming out next year and it's going to be called Spiraling Up. And I'm really excited about that one. Everything I do is here to serve the highest good of all. At least that's my belief system. That's my values and who I am as a person. So Spiraling Up, look for it next year. Um, if I could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be? I think it gets back to exactly what I was talking about. Everything in life is a lesson. Your struggles can be the very thing that set you up for the next biggest breakthrough, spiraling up. So don't look at things as, oh my God, the sky is falling. What's the silver lining in this? What can I learn from this? And that would be my biggest take from that. Um, what is the butterfly technique and how does it support people to navigate stress and uncertainty? Well, the butterfly technique is what I call the butterfly technique, is all about stop, changing, and shifting. It's a tool that I use in my practice. It's one of the biggest, most brilliant tools that I've ever given many people, as they come back and tell me that all the time. So if you think of a butterfly fluttering around, right, it pauses. It'll stop on a flower and pause for a moment. In our busy lives, we forget to pause, to stop, right? And when things get overwhelming or you get flustered, rather than react, right? You want to take that pause, take a deep breath. You're actually oxygenating your brain long enough to think it through clearly, to stop change, right? Change the action or the energy that's holding you back. And then it gives you the moment to stop, change, and shift into a new way of being or a new action. I like to think about it. I give my clients dog leashes and they think I'm crazy. I'll give them a dog leash when they sign up with me and they're like, what's this for? And I'm like, put it up in a place that you could always see it. So many people have walked dogs before. Who's walking who? Are you going to allow those old belief systems to walk you? Or are you going to walk the belief system and take ownership and charge of it so you can shit when it comes up and you recognize it? You pull it back, you say, thank you for sharing, you pat it on the head. I appreciate you sharing and supporting me. It no longer serves me, but I'm in control and I'm going to walk you. Right. So you can use it for anything. And that's why I like the butterfly technique. Um, How can someone start shifting their mindset when they feel stuck in a cycle of stress or negativity? That's what beautiful. That's exactly what the butterfly technique is about. You've got to identify the mindset, and especially when you're feeling overwhelmed causes the stress. That deep breath is going to be your best friend. So again, how does breath work fit into personal empowerment? And what's the one breath work technique that you can try right now? Well, breath work is free, right? And it's the most powerful tool within your body system. So whether you stop, change, or shift, box breathing is a good one to help calm the stress and the nerves. And box breathing, I think I love to dance. So I always think of box breathing as the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And what that looks like in breath work is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And when you slow your nervous system, when you slow your breathing down, your nervous system slows down as well. So big fan of breathing. Um, and again, we don't have to stay stuck. Those simple little shifts can create massive transformation. Question. What are some of the most common self-communication mistakes people make that hold them back? That self-talk. This, I'm not enough. I'm not loved. I'm not heard. That is going to be the biggest thing that's going to hold you back, because basically the more you talk, the more your brain hears it. The more your brain hears it, it's going to start looking for evidence of why you can't do something or why you won't do something, as opposed to shifting that energy to looking and saying, I am worthy. I am enough. I am loved. And it begins with self. When you love yourself, everything else falls from that place. I know we're not taught to love ourselves. And it sounds selfish to be saying, I love me. But you know what? If I can't, it's like putting on your oxygen mask first. If you can't put on your oxygen mask first, how are you going to support other people? Right? So that's my answer to that. How does clearing old belief systems change the way we communicate with ourselves and others? Well, exactly, coming out of the same context. When you love yourself, you're going to start talking more positively. For years, I couldn't even look in the mirror. I would like go wash my face and I'd be looking away from the mirror. And God forbid I looked at myself naked in the mirror. It was like, oh my God, I was looking at all the flaws. Now it's like I can do my little happy dance and go, I love myself, I love myself. And it sounds silly, but those little itty bitty movements and just the body energy starts when you start moving and playing, your brain is creating new neural pathways into believing it. So there was a time when when I was going through my divorce, it was just intuitive to me. And I would take sticky notes and put them on my mirror. And I actually wrote a blog about it called 9 by 9, I believe it was. And I had literally 9 by 9 sticky note space of open space on my mirror. My mirror was probably around 6 feet long and tall, and it was huge. And I had every single aspect rather than this little square covered with sticky notes. I am love. God loves me. Um, I am beautiful. I am powerful. And just all these affirmations that just came to my heart, I would write them down. And every time I went into the bathroom, I would begin reading them. And as I read them and started believing them, I would move them over to the side. And before I knew it, on the side mirror, there were only 9 squares left. And that took probably about, in all fairness, probably about 8 months of doing that. And then my former sister-in-law came in one day and said, oh, apples don't fall far from the tree. Can I have it? I'm so sorry I gave that away, because it really shifted my self-talk into believing in myself again, because no one was coming to rescue me. Nobody was going to do it for me other than myself. So when you do the work works. right? So that's one way of doing it. Um, and it begins shifting my inner dialogue. So our words create our reality, and when we change the self-talk, we change our world, right? Um, so how do you develop the Sassy, Classy, Badassy framework, and why is it so powerful? How did you create it? Years, years of trial and error, and just gaining my own. I've always been intuitive, but I've never been confident in carrying my own self-worth. That was one of my biggest faux pas, so to speak. So when I never really trusted my intuition because I didn't know what intuition was, and I thought, oh, truly there was something wrong with me because I would hear this inner knowing, this inner dialogue, and I'm like, shh, like stop it, and then I would listen to my friends or other family members, and I started listening to the external. And when I realized I was stepping into what everybody else, it didn't feel right for me. And the more I did that, the more things would go wrong until one day I was like, let me just let me just listen to this. And that's the classy self. That's your GPS, internal GPS system. You know, when you put your GPS in the car, it doesn't always take you immediately to where you want to go because sometimes there's detours and things that happen along the way where you've got to shift gears. Those 2 millimeter shifts are going to make all the difference in the world and get you to where you want to be and go anyway. So why not listen to it, right? And then the badassy was, it took me taking those big deep breaths, butterfly technique consistently, and it was like, okay, I'm taking a risk. I'm going to put my toe in and do it anyway. And it was like the more I did it anyway, the more it was messy, the more I found myself saying, this is actually exciting. And I was meeting exciting people, and opportunities were showing up, and then it was just more and more and more. And before I knew it, I was growing, I was becoming bigger than I knew myself to be. And now I don't even recognize myself, but I love myself enough to know I'm on mission, I'm on purpose. I love what I do. And I love the life I'm living now. Before, I wasn't living life at all. So, yeah, that was a big transformational journey. And now I'm giving it back with the Sassy, Classy, Badassy framework. So, great question. Thank you for asking that one. Um, Let me see. For women entrepreneurs struggling with confidence, what's the first thing they should focus on? Whew, the first thing they should focus on, I'm going to say, is themselves, right? What are your values? Are they your values? Right? So many people I work with don't even know what their values are because they're so busy listening to their parents. They're so busy listening to their teachers, their priests or rabbis or whatever the external world is pouring on into them. So I take clients on a journey of really looking at, and identifying whose is which and which ones do you want, which ones you want to keep. And as you grow, your values are going to change. Nothing stays the same, right? So you're not obligated to keep them forever. So I would focus first on values for sure. And then after that, Shakespeare talked about in 1533 in his play Hamlet, to thine own self be true, really stepping into your authenticity. Like, what is true for you? Like, what do you really want? Most people know what they don't want, but they don't really know what they want. So once you start learning about yourself, it's self-discovery. And that's where I love the reflective questions. So start with that. Focus on your values for starting point and focus on yourself. What do you want? Get clarity around that. So what's one mistake you see entrepreneurs make when trying to balance personal growth and business? The biggest mistake is attempting to balance it, right? It's really not a balancing act, right? it would be very challenging to stand in one space. It's really about harmonizing it. And some days energy flows, right? Where energy goes, energy flows. And some days it's going to flow more this way, and some days it's going to flow more this way. But when you start looking at that and getting into the flow of what feels good for you, you're going to find more of a balance for yourself between the two. There are so many people I know who are workaholics, and I was one of them for the longest time because I felt this need to do it perfectly, or be recognized or whatever it is. But then what suffered was my family life because I felt like, oh my God, I gotta, go after the mighty dollar, or if I don't do this right, I'm not gonna change lives, or or whatever your or is, right? When you find time to balance it. So what I do to find the harmony in my own life is I block time on my schedule. I block time for me, I block time for the gym, I block time to create my meal plans, I block time for socialization, I block time for girlfriends, I block time for business. And within the business, I block time for each of those. So things get done and managed in an effective way where I harmonize my life and I feel like I'm playing. So hopefully that will be supportive. What role does spirituality play in personal and professional success? Oh, great question. Well, for me, right, and I can only talk from my perspective, spirituality for me is really knowing yourself. When you know yourself, to thine own self be true. We just talked about that. It's really everything else flows from there. When you love yourself, people just automatically become energetically attracted to you. You're going to attract more clients, you're going to attract more opportunities, you're going to attract more love, more relationship into your life, right? As a result of that, you're going to attract more finances, more health, so everything stems off of that. So your business grows when you grow. So align with your secret to success. Um, what's one book besides my own that changed my life? Wow. Okay. The one book that jumps out at me and I've been talking about as of late, so I guess this is the book to talk about. I do a lot of audiobooks. Way before I heard Tony Robbins talk about it, way before I heard other people talk about it. I just always have been I was doing 6 hours of carpooling back in the day. So I found myself doing a lot of audiobooks. Personal growth and development, is all about getting myself out of my own way so I could stand in front of the judge and say, no, this doesn't work for me. Or what about, my children or whatever, right? So the more books I took on, the more I started growing and learning. And you take what works for you and let go of the rest. But it started compounding and building. And I remember running out of audiobook one day. I had completed the book and I was driving and I didn't have an opportunity to go look for another one. And my oldest daughter said to me, Mom, why don't you go on mine and look and see if there's a book there? And out of her whole list, the one that jumped out at me was Oprah's Year of Yes. And I went, oh, what's that one? And that was the one book that really, really, really changed my life. They all changed my life, but that's the one that's jumping out at me right now because I remember Oprah basically existing in work, right? It was, if I recall the book uh, correctly, she was working, working, working. And as you all know, she, she's a producer, a director, a writer. She's got books galore and so on and so forth. And she didn't have a life. She had 3 children and she was divorced as well, if I remember. And her sister came in one day and said, what kind of life do you have? You work, you put the kids to bed, you feed them, and you go to bed, and then you start all over again. So what kind of life do you have? And it was paralleling my life at the moment. As I said, I became a workaholic, and her sister had challenged her to take on the year of yes. I mean, granted, yes, you say no to what doesn't feel good, but by and large, you have to be a yes to most things in life. And I said, I'm going to do that. Right? It worked for her. I'm going to try it. So I said yes. And all of a sudden, before I knew it, opportunities were showing up. I was going to speak. What? Say what? Like, how am I going to do that? Well, like anything else, it's like driving a car. It's one of people's biggest fears, public speaking. Do I still get butterflies? Absolutely. But when I say yes to myself, it's like I do it anyway, right? Even though it looks messy, I do it anyway. And all of a sudden, there goes my my video again. Go figure. Um, I am so sorry about that. I don't know why my video keeps going out. Anyway, so I took on the year yes, and it changed my life forever. And I haven't looked back. And I'm so grateful for that book. And I'm grateful for my daughter um, for supporting me in that and sharing that book with me. So, if I could have coffee with any transformational leader, past, present, who would it be? Ooh, there are so many. There are so many. But the one that jumps out to me is a former coach of mine, Myron Golden. Oh my God, he is an amazing individual. I started out with him as my coach back in the day, but I had nothing to sell. I had no self-worth, no confidence. And it was like, why am I spending all this money on this man who I totally aligned with, but I had nothing to sell? And I didn't believe in myself. And when I said, you don't love yourself, how can you possibly be open to others? That was a perfect example of it. Today, Myron Golden charges $40,000 for an hour session. He's like off the charts. He's all over the world now. And he started here in Tampa, Florida. So, you know, I didn't listen to my intuition, and I do regret that. But the man is brilliant, and he's all over the internet. So definitely, if you haven't had an opportunity to follow him, highly recommend it. Um, no matter where you are today, remember you are always just one shift away from your next breakthrough. Wow, what an incredible session. I'm going to end here. I love the conversations about growth and development. And it's not just about finding answers, it's about asking the right questions that take the bold steps forward. So remember, the bridge from ordinary to extraordinary is built with small steps of change and big leaps of faith. So if today's insights spoke to you in any way, shape, or form, let's take it further. Book a free clarity call with me and let's uncover what's next for you. Stay connected. Join me on social media. I always do live question and answers there, mindset shifts. We have a community of heart-centered action takers already there. I have a Facebook group. Feel free to join it. Just DM me and I'll give you all the information you want or ever could use or need. I'm here for you. If you think this is going to make a difference, share this with a friend. Sharing is caring. So you never know who will be lifted when they hear something within these conversations with others, right? So you were born different, so make a difference, right? And until then, keep stepping into your greatness and then illuminate the extraordinary within you. Stay inspired, and I look forward to seeing more of you. Bye for now.